Good evening. Welcome to the Thursday episode of Hog Talk Podcast presented to you by Vision Exteriors. It is Thursday, April 2nd. Arkansas is in the middle of first right now against Auburn. They went 1, 2, and 3. First inning, Auburn is up to bat. Kozel struck out swinging, so is a grounded out to shortstop, and Rutenbar flat out to left field in the inning. So Auburn's up. They are pitching Gabe Gakel tonight. 3.5 ERA, 3-2 on the year. So we'll start with this. I mean, we got live. We'll give you updates throughout the show, but how important is this series against Auburn?
I feel like that if they don't win this series, then it's hard to say all is lost, but that's kind of where I'm at personally with it. Obviously, getting swept at home by Florida wasn't in the cards. So far, what's happened this season didn't seem like it was in the cards. So I feel like, and yeah, it's a bit of doom and gloom, if you will, but I just feel like that's where we're at with it.
You know, I'll pose the question. We can get into it later on in the show, but when you're looking at this series with Auburn, you got Little Rock on Tuesday, and then you go to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So you got back-to-back road series before you come back to Fayetteville April 16th against Georgia. Well, I mean, from what we're seeing, and it was funny, I was listening to Ruskin and Zach's show yesterday afternoon, and there was an interesting caller. Usually you go down this rabbit hole and people, conspiracy theorists, but they brought up a point, and I went back and listened to it and listened to the interview that Dave Van Horn gave. And it was interesting how they asked him about the beginning of the season and what his thoughts were with this team. And he said, this team really gets along well together. They're not playing well. They're not doing well. They get along well. And it's almost like we've heard that before in other programs when they're struggling. We've heard that and how fast they are, how the locker room, this and that. And then all of a sudden, you don't expect to hear that from Dave Van Horn. And then another thing was he brought up NIL. And he brought up that they were still trying to get some people through NIL and still get his roster. So it begins me to believe, like, and this is no shot at Dave Van Horn. This is no shot at the baseball program, but what the hell is going on in Arkansas? What are we not seeing? And I think once this thing crashes and burns, which we'll get into the topic of what I was getting at. If this thing crashes and burns because you're looking at your football program, Adam, you maybe 1 or 2 wins this season. You're leaning on your baseball program, and he's sitting there, your guy who is the go to the baseball, Dave Van Horn, and he is still trying to get NIL for baseball players. And you're seeing what's going on with these mid-majors, beating Tennessee, beating Arkansas, Missouri State. It worries me a lot, not just for the baseball program, but the whole athletic program at the state of Arkansas.
Well, you know, especially at the Big Three, baseball was always the one to bail us out during the sour, the rough times. So it's tough to sit here, especially the way basketball season ended. I mean, yeah, losing by 21, 22, whatever it was to Arizona. I mean, that was a tough pill to swallow. But at the same time, it's like, hey, we got back to the Sweet 16, build off it, make some changes, etc. Obviously, football going 2-10. We hate being like during one sport saying, well, basketball season's starting soon. Well, baseball season's starting soon, because we've had to do that so many times over the years. I don't know. It definitely, like I've used the term doom and gloom just a little bit ago. It feels like that's this overall sense, and it's like I'm not trying to say that all is lost with the baseball team, because we talked about it on Monday's show, when they got to the College World Series, what was it, 22 losses, 26 losses, something like that on the season. So we're still sitting here that's a possibility, and it's going to be a possibility, especially with Dave Van Horn. Going back to his interview, I mean, yeah, that quote, they really get along, or they this, they that. When you make comments like that, it makes
It's
you
out of character. It's out of pocket coming from him.
yeah, and it makes you just feel like that there's more going on that we don't know about,
Mm.
or is it that you don't want to sit here and harp on all the bad things, and that's one of the only good things you can bring up at the time. There's a number of ways you could take it. You could look at it. Of course, if Arkansas rattles off the next 2 to 3 series wins, then we'll be having a different conversation. But as it sits right now, there's a lot of unknown. I mean, there's an unknown with what's going on with this baseball team in this season. There's a lot of unknown going into spring practice and the summer into fall camp for the football team with a new head coach. And probably, we talk year in, year out with football that, this is one of, if not the hardest schedule. No, this is the toughest schedule this football team has had. And it kind of, you sit back and you're just like, okay, so we got basketball, we got softball, we got track. And then, yes, I know we can still throw in women's golf and volleyball and soccer and these things, but it's kind of like you start looking for other places to, I guess, seek happiness. I mean,
Yeah.
wherever it's a weird feeling right now.
Yeah, it is. And what you were saying earlier was like you're able to lean on basketball, you're able to lean on baseball. Well, now if 2 of those 3 are cut out and you only have to worry about basketball, if that's all you have, and that gets me to my point. So where baseball sits right now, where football sits. If you was to, I guess I wouldn't say tank. I would say we're going to put 2-3 years worth of NIL money, and we're going to save up. We're going to stock up. We know our basketball program's set, but with our football program, we don't. I mean, we outside of your quarterback, what star do you have coming back on this team? Both sides of the ball. Who do you have that you could truly count on? Who do you have? And then you look at the schedule outside of North Alabama, and then you want to go Tulsa. Maybe we'll see where Vandy is without Pavia. Maybe they take a big dip. And then after that, let's go Missouri. Rank. I'm trying to look at the teams, but 2-3 wins max is what I see. And I'm saying 3 just for the fact that you're at Vanderbilt, but let's see how they do post Pavia. And that's the only grace I'm giving them because we don't know what type of team they have. And your Vanderbilt games after the Tennessee game, it's in October. What kind of depth are you going to have in October? So now the football team is doesn't pan out. Now you have basketball. You they're going to do well with what they got coming in next year. McDonald's All-Americans and your 5 stars and the 4 stars. Torrey's a high 4-star. So do you bank on, and would you be okay settling for just being a basketball school, knowing what you're getting out of your baseball and your football program, but knowing that basketball is going to perform, what you're getting out of that? Could you settle for that?
Yes. And but some of that comes from my love for basketball versus other sports. But at the same time, I sit there and I look at it and I'm like, okay, so we hope to have 4-ish more years with John Calipari. What happens after that? So if for the next 4 years, all the focus is on basketball, screw the other sports, who cares? I think then you look long term is what happens after those 4 years? Who's going to come into Arkansas to not only coach basketball, but I would believe by that point too, coach baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Is Silverfield still here after 4 to 5 years? So there's the long term of it, because you just say screw it with the other sports and hey, we're all about basketball. You have a gigantic hole that you may be able to dig your way out of after that 4 to 5 year mark.
Yeah. And here's the thing, and also Razorback fans have been through enough. At least this way. Hey, look, let's just almost trim the fat. Just we're going to still support the football program. We're still going to, but the expectations is we know they're going to give us 6-7 wins. We're putting all of our faith in basketball program, and you looked at the ticket sales in the SEC, and where Kentucky was way up top with the basketball sales compared to the football and stuff, and Arkansas was down at the bottom. It can happen because you just turn it into a Kentucky style. It probably won't be as epic as the Kentucky program as a whole, but you can generate the revenue. You can put all your money into the basketball program and know that you're going to be Elite Eight, Sweet 16, Final Four, but at least you know what you're getting. And if Coach Cal never wins the national championship at Arkansas, it's almost like you're trading the comfort of knowing you're going to be a great program or an elite program, opposed to, well, he ain't going to win us the national championship, so let's try to bring somebody in who's going to. Too big of a gamble. And then if you never get back to the Sweet 16 or Elite Eight, now all three programs suck. And now you're trying to lift up all three programs. Bobby was saying, give all the money to basketball. Let's give all we can to Cal and ride this out and stockpile until we can get get more money for football, because I'm not happy with how things are handling. I have a big, bad feeling that the way Hunter Yurachek, unless you get rid of Hunter Yurachek, I see this thing crashing and burning in the football program. And then if baseball pans out the way it is, and if they're searching for NIL money, you only got one of your programs that are funded.
No, like you bringing up Hunter Yurachek, I think it starts at the top, and we all know how we feel about the head of the table. I've heard ad nauseum the last few. It's brought up recently, and I kind of chuckle when I hear it. And it's mainly been brought up on Ruskin and Zach, but they make the comments, the little jabs here and there that we keep hearing, like we've got a sponsor on the stadium, we've got a name sponsor for Razorback Stadium, but it hadn't been named yet. Why hadn't it been named yet? Because we don't have one.
Yeah,
and like they said today, until that check is cashed, we don't have one. And I just think that that's a obviously direct reflection on who's running things, because they think it's been 18 months that we haven't had it, and we've been hearing about that we're going to have one, and now again it's we've got one. It's just it hadn't came out. No, spare me with all that, because fact is until money exchanges hands and they've announced it and there's a sign going up, we don't have one. So it definitely starts with Hunter Yurachek, but I think that if you put, and I'll whether it's Walmart, whether it's JB Hunt, Stevens, Tyson, et cetera, at what point do we have to say, hey, they're not going to, so why do we keep bringing it up?
Yeah, exactly. And another thing, we keep on bringing up the raffle, but there was supposed to be some big announcement. Waiting on that now, unless I've missed it. What's the big announcement that they were supposed to? Was it the Link You concert with Justin Moore? I mean, dead serious. Like, there's this big announcement was supposed to happen, and I haven't heard anything yet from it. We're supposed to hear from Hunter Yurachek, Remy Cofield, all this stuff going on. What have we heard? What's coming that was this big announcement that they couldn't wait to announce? Have you heard anything from that?
The only thing that I feel like that Justin Moore thing is the biggest announcement that there's been so far. And this isn't a shot at Justin Moore by anything. I'm not necessarily a fan. I don't listen to his music. I understand why he's doing it, but at the same time, I'm like, that's not like a big deal, in my opinion. You're trying to get people to a spring game. I mean, come on.
It's that, but also it's low-hanging fruit. again, this is no jab at Justin Moore at all, but he is on the bus. He's in Arkansas. He's on the radio station. He's affiliated with them. It's not like this huge star that goes out there and promotes the state of Arkansas, and you're bringing him in. And I'm sorry, with the connections, you're talking about concerts. They're doing concerts, but how much is that? Any of that money even going to NIL or anything, or coaches, or anything that can help the athletic program? Is any of that money going to help athletics? Because I'm sorry, things are looking decent, but I have a bad feeling we are not going to be saying this same thing in a year from now. I have a huge bad feeling that you're going to be left, Will Smith, on the carpet, the empty carpet, and that's the basketball program looking at the football and the baseball program.
Well, and the stuff, the concerts and this and that, it's going to go to the bottom line. They can say all they want. It's going to go to, athletes or part of it or whatever. Fact is, it's going to the bottom line of the athletic department.
Yeah.
So that's something that I just can't see revenue from a Coldplay concert, and I'm just using that. I don't know who's all they've got lined up for playing at Razorback Stadium. I just can't see you generating athletic revenue from that. Otherwise, I feel like you'd be having, Neyland Stadium having more concerts than they do. You'd have these other college football venues doing stuff.
Well, I think the overhead of replacing the turf on your state, I think that has a lot to do with it. This is a one-time thing. We can do it here and there, but you're going into what's the overhead of replacing your turf or your field to make way for those all the equipment and the stages and all that. But it's I hate it because we're so early in the SEC season, but it's like I'm already in panic mode. I'm already in like what's going to happen, but I feel like we need to be, because Adam, the Final Four is this weekend, and we're already talking about the end of baseball season.
Mm-hmm.
Like we ain't even made it into where we're fully jumping out of basketball and into baseball, which now we're going to, once the Final Four and the national championship's over, that'll be next weekend. But I just have a bad feeling about where this thing's going. And I think more people, you're not going to get this from the morning shows. You're not going to get any of this straightforward talk. I think that's where we stand out among other shows, is we will say our mind on it, and we're not doing it just to be petty. We are petty at times, but we're not doing it just to be petty. This is really how the state of this program is. And I look through a different lens sometimes, but sometimes not, because being from the state and being vested in all the programs, you want them to win. I wanted Arkansas to go on a run. I wanted you to drink that Coke. I wanted the tattoo. You want them to do well, but at times you're like, I want to protect the state, and I want them what's best for the athletic department. And to me, it starts at the top. I think nothing's going to change until you get rid of the person at the top.
Well, and, say going back to football, I guess, and I say going back to football where it begins, but this would affect other sports, is, okay, say we're going to have another 2-10 season with the same roster, or the same money spent, around the same money spent on the roster, whatever. If we're going to have this continued same outcome, but whether it's 2 wins, whether it's 4 wins, doesn't matter. Why can you not take 10 to 15 million out of what you're giving them to spread out to a softball, to spread out a little bit more to baseball, however you want to do it? And I get it that football generates the most revenue. And there was another, I think with that ticket sales, when like Arkansas was top 10 or near the top when it came to football ticket sales, and which just shocks me. But at the same time, like, it's a slap in the face to the fans that are paying money, whether it's season tickets or single game tickets, whether they're being bought and then trying to scalp them on third-party site, whatever the case is. It's a slap in the face for the fans that are spending that money to have a D-grade product on the field. So I just look at it like, hey, take some of that revenue and give it to a Courtney Deifel that needs the money in softball. She's doing it with coaching and the players that she brought in, but just think what she would do with, a few million more in NIL. Go buy, like we've talked about before, go buy that major league pitcher for a season or two. Other schools have done it. Why aren't you doing it? If you're not going to go all in, as our football head coach likes to say, why are we spending so much time and effort on that program?
Yeah. And back to Bobby's comment of the raffle, the raffle doesn't go to NIL. Half of it goes to a winner and half of it goes to the Razorback Foundation. There was another plan. There was another pitch to form a raffle where half of it would go to NIL and half of it would go to a winner, but they didn't want that. They wanted to go this route. So they wanted to be happy with $3,400 to be the payout opposed to what it could have been. They're happy with $5,600 payout. Now, when I say payout, this is actually how much the winner got. The last 4 have been 5,000, 4,000, 6,000, 7,000, and then a couple of nines. And then basketball versus Tennessee, you got 11,000, but basketball versus Louisville, you had 5,900. Football was your biggest one, I think, because it went 2-3 weeks out. You had Missouri and Mississippi State during football, 24,000 each, 26, which it's still a decent payout, but it's not what it could be. You could, I guarantee you, if you would have gave half the NIL and half of it to the fan, you would have had more and more like those baseball ones at the first. You would have had $80,000, $90,000 payouts every week if you'd have done one a week.
Well, and I wonder too, and I heard this comment on one of the shows, I forget which one it was. It was really that around that, and I haven't looked at the raffle by raffle to see when it all was, but they were kind of saying, hey, when Arkansas got hammered by Notre Dame, like it was almost the downfall after that. I mean, I'm sure we still had some bigger ones after that, but
fans that one paid out 75,000.
And then after that, just kind of started
15
dive bombing. So it's being poorly, like we talked about. You used to see it early on, especially in football. First thing, like it was publicized a lot. You saw it everywhere. Now it's you get the email that it's open. You get the post from the raffle social media pages, and then if you're at the game, you see it time and time again to enter the raffle. Outside of that, who's pushing it? Who within the athletic department is pushing it? Because Hunter Yurchek sure shit isn't.
No, nobody is. I mean, you see, when we went to the Kentucky game, they had a table set up at Bud Walton Arena.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this thing started the first giveaway. So we're talking about a year. Not even a year yet. May 17th was the first giveaway in the Tennessee series. That payout was $141,000 payout to the winner. Since then, they've only had 19 raffles in a year. So I know summer, all this, whatever, but you could still be doing things. You've only had 19 and 52 weeks out of the year. I mean, you could have done a lot more than this. You could have had 30 to 40 of these things, but you chose not to. And again, there's no promotion of it. There's no, I hear an ad every now and then on the radio, but then let's just call it how we see it. How funny the big raffles were when we didn't know who the winners were. And then we start realizing that maybe the winners were connected to the foundation. What if this was hey, we're going to let you win this raffle. You donate it back, blah, blah, blah. We don't know. But it's funny, when we started calling these things out, the names started slipping away and you didn't know. So
that right there was 1000% when we started looking at who these winners were.
Mhm.
And then slowly after we start talking about it, it starts being, hey, we're only going to do like first name and last initial. We're not going to tell you who they are. Because, yeah, we did figure out like, hey, this person's tied to UAMS. Hey, this person's tied to the Rogers Razorback Club or whatever it's called.
Yeah, the booster league.
It's like, hello, like these are directly related to your boosters and your donors and stuff. So it's like, you're not going to win. Like I talked about, I forget the guy's name I used as an example, but until, Roger down in Pine Bluff was going to win one, like this is all just a scam, if you will. And
Rodney and Pine Bluff. Yeah.
It's just, I'm just waiting for them to be like, basically not even make an announcement. We just don't see any more raffles anymore.
I think they should. Yeah. I mean, and until they can get a handle on it and do it right or do more promotions, but it's infuriating. And we have talked about this ad nauseum. And I know that we sound like a broken record, or I sound like, because I bring it up all the time, but it's one of the things that when your programs are in the mud and in the ditch, and your football team now has a third year in a row of a 2, 3, and 4 win season, don't be wondering why. Don't be asking the fans. And this is another thing that keeps on getting brought up. You keep on reaching your hand out to the fans and to the boosters and to the Tysons. Tyson running out of money. There's only so much more he gonna give. But what are you doing for Tyson? What are you doing for us? What are you doing for the fans? What is the return? And I'm not saying you've got to go win 9, 10 wins every year. I'm not saying you got to go to Final Fours. I'm not saying you got to go to the World Series every year. But Hunter Yurchek and your people, what are you doing? What's you want to talk about saving money? Cut Remy Cofield. What is he doing? We've heard nothing about his job and what he does on a day-to-day basis, and he is robbing the university of $500,000 to $600,000 a year, whatever his salary is. I'm just throwing a number out there, but I guarantee it's that. What's he doing? And how many people, there was a comment before, I think it was from Bobby, talking about going and buying a pitcher or going and buying a quarterback. That right there could buy you a good running back and a wide receiver, but you don't care about NIL, but you want to sit on the throne of that committee and puff your chest out and make a fool of yourselves on TV every week. Because for somebody who's an athletic director, you need to take a summer class in public speaking.
6, 7.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, it's just, to me, it reminds me of when Jeff Long was head of the committee or whatever at one point in time, when it was still, I guess, just 4 teams. But at the same time, we didn't hear that much from Jeff Long. So he at least, kept his mouth shut for the most part. And it's all about me with Hunter Yurchek. And, going back to, the fans, it's what are we doing for the fans? We're raising ticket prices. We're raising concession prices, whether you want to look at the tax increase or the concession taxes, however you want to. We're going to take seats out of Bud Walton Arena for executive suites or executive seating or whatever. Yeah, that's what we're doing for fans. We're charging you more money. Oh, also, by the way, we're going to make every parking lot priority parking. So you have to buy a parking pass in order to park at the games.
Yeah. Yes, Yurchek will be the chairman in 26, 27. He is still on the board. Yeah, but and that's the thing. So during an important part of the time where he needs to be fundraising, he's going to be on the television. He's going to be on the committee. It just blows my mind that you're so close. You were so close. You go back to 21. You're so close from cashing in on greatness. And 4 or 5 years later, building off of that where all three of your programs could be good.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God for John Tyson. Thank God for Tyson and Cal, because I don't know where we would be if he didn't accept the job. If he didn't get the money and he didn't get, because where would any of this be right now? What would we be talking about right now if Coach Cal would have never got the job? So I know it's disappointing that we got beat out in the Sweet 16. I know that we've made comments about, next year he's going to have more expectations to get to the Elite Eight because he'll be right up there with Musselman. But you know what? That's not as bad as it seems, because Musselman got us to the Elite Eight. I know it's hard to hear, when you're saying don't compare Cal to Musselman, but when you solely base it off the success he had at Arkansas and what we're seeing right now, you have to compare the two. But it could be a lot worse. You could be in the NITs. You could be not making any kind of tournament right now because of John Tyson investing money. And I know it's hard, even in the baseball program, it'd be hard for somebody to invest $20 million in the baseball program every year and expect them to be good. Too many variables. It's, again, low hanging fruit. It's easy to promote the basketball team because there's just 6, 7, 8 players that you have to fund to be great. But the way things are going right now with this $20 million, I just say throw it all in the bag to, your bread and butter is basketball right now, and try to rebuild your football program from the scratch. Just and get something going, because if not, when Cal's not here and Dave Van Horn's not here, you're going to have nothing.
I mean, if this is the last little bit on it, if it wasn't for John Tyson bringing in John Calipari, where would we be? We'd probably be sitting here with a Chris Beard or Jans. I can't think.
Yeah.
I mean, one of those two guys. So we saw where that was. So obviously thankful for what we have. It's just, I think for football, and we talk about luck when it comes to the different tournaments and things of that nature. I think for football, and it's something that I don't foresee happening, is the NCAA finally putting in some regulations when it comes to, NIL transfers, this, that, and the other. But it's not going to happen because they're just, so they either lose every lawsuit that they go into, or they just back down to begin with. So, it's Arkansas is going to have to basically either become a little bit more cutthroat in all of this, or accept being mid-tier or less.
Yeah, and that perfect segue into the break, because we're going to take a quick commercial break. Hear a word from our sponsor over at Vision Exteriors. When we come back, we'll break down football. We'll talk about football, NIL. We'll talk about, tampering and all, even happening in basketball. We'll talk about all that when we come back after a quick word from Vision Exteriors. When I found my mouse and hit the add button. Looking to enhance your home's curb appeal? Look no further than Vision Exteriors. As your trusted roofing, siding, and exterior experts, we're here to transform your property. Our skilled team ensures your job is not only functional, but also aesthetically pleasing. Along with roofing, we also offer window, gutter, and siding installation to boost your home's appearance with our quality options. Visit us at www.visionexteriors.com or call us at 479-397-4770. Let's make your vision a reality. And welcome back to the Hog Podcast. Before we got in the break, we were talking about football, NIL, tampering, coaches. And it's funny how Tommy Tuberville wants to make this rule where players get 5 years, you get one transfer, and he's wanting to put all these limits on all these players. Meanwhile, you have coaches sitting there making deals while they're still at another school. You got coaches in basketball. I mean, allegedly through the grapevine, I haven't heard nothing solid yet, that coaches that are going to the Final Four or talking or in talks of going to North Carolina. We're seeing it with coaching. So how is it right for the coaches to sit there and be doing this when you're on the verge? And I'll throw Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin in there. Your team is on the verge of having the greatest season of all time, and you dip for LSU. Now, you have a coach that is possibly going to win the national championship and then talk to the Final Four. And if you're going to dip for North Carolina. Like, I don't understand why we're jumping at a name when you could be the name. Like an NIL right now, and Arizona's no freaking slouch. I mean, they've been a program. They could be considered in some people's thoughts a blue blood. You know, I mean, they've been around for a long time, and but for these coaches to be able to do that, how is it fair for them to do it? But yet you want to jump all over. And this is Jay Billis. This is anybody that sits there and wants to come down on the players with blah blah blah. It's not, and I think until you put boundaries on both coaches and players, it's free range, and that's the way it should be.
1000%. You opened up this Pandora's box, if you will, when it came to NIL and transfer portal. Current coaches, former coaches turned politicians. They want to open their mouths and, talk down on the transfer portal or tampering or whatever else. And it's one of those things. Do I agree with tampering? No. Do I like tampering? No. But at the same time, all we really seem to talk about it with is when it comes to players. And these coaches want to get butthurt or whatever when a player up in transfers, or they want to limit transfers. They want to this, they want to that. But hey, as long as, hey, I've got Jimmy Sexton as my agent shopping me around while I'm still under contract to, whatever the case may be, that's perfectly okay, because I'm not a play. So there's coaches want to talk about loyalty. Coaches want to talk about transfer portals. Coaches want to talk about this, that, and the other. Outside of a handful of coaches, I don't want to hear about loyalty.
Yeah.
Because you yourself are looking for the paycheck. You yourself are looking to do whatever to get to one of these blue bloods, or, hey, you want to go coach North Carolina, or you were hoping Bill Self did retire so you could go coach Kansas, or whichever other school you want to use as your example. UConn after Hurley's gone, whatever. Why? Do you want to do it truly because they're a blue blood? Do you want to do it because of the name? No, you want to do it so that you could try to put yourself on that blue blood school. You want to try to put your face on North Carolina's Mount Rushmore. It's all about you.
Yeah.
So it's one of the, like, they need to squash all the talk of having an issue, because it's great. We all have issues with the transfer portal and these players transferring like this. But guess what? As head coaches, you set the example. Point blank, period.
Yeah. That you have no problem, like Jimbo Fisher. You have no problem getting $75 million and going and doing absolutely nothing at Texas A&M. But you've got guaranteed money. Look at all these coaches getting guaranteed 67. I mean, these buyouts for these coaches. You want to talk about $1 million or $500,000 to a player? Okay, up that $50-60 million to these buyouts for these coaches for going to a school for 2-3 years, it not working out. Granted, that's on the school, but still, yet they'll go jump to another school and they'll make that $40-50 million, and then they won't do nothing. The heart, the desire to really win is being watered down by greed and money and the amount of money that they're paying these players. And we'll go down a little rabbit hole of, I've been in discussions with people all week that in today's society, winning rings doesn't matter, because you'll put people in teams and programs who haven't won a thing over a program who's won it the most, because you're like, well, it means more that they went here and did something without winning anything, but it's like a participation trophy. That's where we're at. Well, we got there. So you're pretty much bragging being the Buffalo Bills of your said sport, and then downplaying the people who's won it 12 times, but not realizing how hard it is to win those 12 times. It's insane where we are And that just shows you it's all about money and getting that bag. And we'll just get there and you can be considered the greatest.
I mean, it's all the whole, do as I say, not as I do. That's where coaches are at with it. So, um, I don't know. It's one of those things that it gets really annoying, and then it's annoying to the point it's like, hey, you get tired of talking about these
Yeah.
things. Um, honestly, those I look at the NCAA and I'm just kind of like, this all comes back to you. Either put your foot down, put your big boy pants on. My whole thing with it is the NCAA has more money than these schools, and y'all are losing court cases day after day after day to these players that want to come back with more eligibility because, oh, well, we tried to say no, but we lost in court.
Yeah.
No, like
Yeah.
I don't understand where all this came from. Like, hey, the rule before was you had X amount of years of eligibility, or you had once you sign on the dotted line that you were going to go to the draft, you could no longer come back to college. And now it's just kind of like, oh, well,
And
actually,
you have coaches that are sitting there vouching like, well, man, we really could have used him. We could have used him. We would have won the national championship if we'd have had that player. Like, it's wrong. It's illegal. But you're trying to find loopholes to make it legal. You're trying so hard. You're trying harder to find loopholes in this system than just putting your head to the grindstone and winning. And then you're doing wrong, and then you cry victim when you get called out on it. Like Nate Oates, I can't stand the guy. He's a bum. Like he's and for him to cry, not one mention of his second leading scorer that's a drug dealer. No, let's mention the woe is me. If we had Bediako, we would have went further in this tournament. And you sit there and say it with a straight face. Like, what are we talking about? That's where we are. That is this gas bag society we live in, where people can say whatever they want, think it holds weight, and they believe their own lies. That it is the craziest thing to me.
That's, like you said, it's the world we live in today. And I don't see an end in sight unless, this is the only unless. And it goes back to, the 32 team league or super conference or whatever it is that you want to call it, to where they break off from the NCAA and have their own rules and their own governing body and whatever else. And can set their salary cap however they want to do it. There's not going to be changes that we see until something like that happens.
Yeah. And that's the thing, now you look at how things are going. Quick update: top of 4, Arkansas 0, Auburn 0. They've got one hit through 4 innings. Through 3, they're at the top of the 4th right now. Auburn has 4 hits, no runs. So still 0-0 top 4. I'll keep you updated for the last few minutes we're on tonight. But guys, it's to the point now where, as our show and as content creators and as Razorback shows, you see what's happening. And, as we, like fans, we want things to be good year round because that gives us more to talk about. And it gives us, hey, man, we can't wait for Arkansas to get to Omaha. We can't wait for Arkansas to get to the Elite Eight of the Final Four. What bowl game is Arkansas going to play in? But the way things are right now, it's just, and we see how the state of the athletic program, and I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel with this athletic program as a whole. Outside of basketball, that's that one light there in the middle of the tunnel is your basketball program. What are we going to be talking about? How are we going to, and we're not. We are going to tell it how it is. We've had, not Adam, I say we, but I have had everything stripped away. So I don't care anymore. I didn't care. I hadn't cared in 3 years. I'll still root for the program, still talk about the women's programs, but we're just going to tell it how it is. And if we think the team's going to suck, we're going to say it's going to suck. We've been threatened. We've had cease and desist. We've been told we have to, say good things about the program. We'll never get credentialed for anything. There's been talks of people at SEC media days. You better talk good about this program or else. Well, we're not the or else. We don't care about the or else. So it's going to be a long summer, especially if this baseball program does this, because it's like, we're not going to sit here and pump up a baseball program that has the expectations of making College World Series when they're not living up to the expectations. If they turn around and make us eat crow, as I'm saying this right now, Arkansas went up 1-0. So maybe we're the sounding voice of reverse psychology for them to do well. But we're going to hold the teams for the expectations. Football season have no expectations for them to win anything above 2 games next year. That's plain and simple, cut dry. Northern Alabama and Tulsa. Outside of that, I don't see them winning another game.
Well, and like you and I have talked about off air, what that does to us also is potentially like this summer, we pivot a little bit. So, like our Thursday show during the summer, hey, guess what? We're not going to talk about Arkansas programs for 2 to 3 shows, so we're going to have to look at things and say, hey, on a Thursday show, it's going to be SEC. It's going to be professional sports. It's just going to have to be a broader picture.
Yep.
Because sometimes, the horse is dead and I can only talk about it so much. So it's just finding those other things that we have to pivot with.
And if they're good, it's nice. You could talk about a good athletic program when the football team's rolling, the basketball team's rolling. But when I'm looking at this roster and it's April, second day of April, and I'm looking beyond. So I'm already past football season. I'm going back. If you want to go fan wise, I'm already waiting to the next basketball season.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're being lied to, like the comment about the NIL, we got the NIL. We don't have the NIL. When we don't even know what the hell we have, it's hard to get behind things. It's hard to believe what they're saying.
Yeah.
So I think this is just my personal pat myself on the back. I think our show is being broadcast at the game, because as soon as I start trashing the whole athletic program, there's 2 men on, 1 out, and Arkansas scored a run. So maybe they need to play me on loop, and maybe I'm their motivator. I don't know.
We'll take it.
Adam, you got anything else?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you for everybody for tuning in to this episode of the Hog Talk podcast. No show Sunday, Easter Sunday. Y'all gonna roll Sunday?
Probably not.
Okay, so no show Sunday for Easter. Everybody have a great Easter holiday. Celebrate that with your friends, family. No Hog HQ live on Sunday. We'll be back Monday at 6:05 for another episode of the Hog Talk podcast. Thank you for everybody tuning in, and we will catch you on Monday.